trying not to get scared. Trying to get scared. Trying not to get scared. What's up, guys? Devin Reacts and Vlogs here. And today, we will be reacting to 3 horror stories. Animated compilation. It's animated. That's the most scariest one. Hopefully you guys get scared. If you guys pee on yourself, poop on yourself, please do not do that. So, we are just gonna get straight into it.
In context, I'm a registered nurse in a small to mid-sized rural emergency department.
Ooh.
I've been doing this job for about 4 years, and one of the biggest problems we've had in my time here has been the prevalence of drug abuse and mental illness. I don't live in a tiny rinky-dink town, nor do I live in a huge metropolitan area, but imagine more of a middle ground city and otherwise a highly rural area of farmlands and aforementioned.
This will be a good time to do it.
Given the size of my city, we deal with a lot of substance abuse and subsequent mental illness. The majority of cases we see are meth-induced. This is the PSA of my story where I say, please, for the love of God, for your own sake and the people you love, do not do meth under any circumstances. It will...
But he did it. Don't listen to this man.
Will absolutely and irreparably mess your life up in so many ways. I don't even know what that
disease is called, but I really don't.
One thing that many people don't realize is that hard drug use can lead to mental illness. A lot of the times, however, it's a chicken and egg scenario regarding whether the person had mental illness prior to the drug use or whether it was the cause.
Why is this all about drugs?
This night, one of our local EMS crews was called for a person having a drug-induced psychosis. He was brought into our psychiatric holding area, being escorted by both the EMS crew and our local police officers. One glance at this guy, and I could tell he was legitimately having a psychosis. He was in his mid-40s to mid-50s.
Why is he... Oh, okay. Why are you looking at me, sir?
Tattered and dirty clothes. Imagine
we can box,
his portrayal of the crazy homeless man archetype, and he fit the profile well. In typical psychosis fashion, he was extremely paranoid and was verbally hostile towards staff in fear of what he was perceiving as a threat against his life.
What's wrong with that man?
Everyone was patient with him, and we were trying to de-escalate him without having to physically restrain him for his and our safety. But it was becoming apparent that we wouldn't be able to simply calm him down verbally.
Bro,
I talked to the doctor.
Why is he shaking? Why is his eyes?
An antipsychotic.
I
drew it up into a syringe and headed back to the psych area.
Bro.
I entered the room and there were still a lot of people in there with him. We had a couple of our ER staff, at least one of our hospital security, and at least 3 or 4 police officers.
We can end the video right here,
bro. Keep this guy together. Admittedly, he was doing slightly better than when I had left him a few minutes ago. The shouting was at a minimum now, and it looked like all he needed was the shot to help him relax.
Is this the scary part?
I approached him with the syringe and told him I would be giving him a shot, and obviously, he became paranoid because, again, he was perceiving us as trying to harm him. After a little more calming him down, I prepared to give him the shot in his right shoulder. I lifted up his t-shirt sleeve, cleaned the site, and grabbed the muscle while he was talking to one of the police officers. I told him that I was going to stick him and give him the customary 1, 2, 3 countdown as I stuck the needle into his shoulder.
He's
a quick explanation of my shot-giving technique is necessary before moving ahead.
Look how scared he looks.
When I give a shot, I hold the syringe by the barrel like you would hold a dart before throwing it. Between my thumb and index finger with the needle pointing towards the patient.
Man, looks like he's homeless.
After the needle is in, I make a split-second move where I rotate my hand so that the barrel of the syringe is between my index and middle fingers, much like you would hold a cigarette. From there, my thumb is free to push the plunger and administer the medication.
He look homeless. He look homeless.
Shortly after I stick the needle in this guy, he apparently forgot that I would be sticking him despite my warning not seconds before.
Why
he proceeded to freak out.
You guys will get the coronavirus.
He turned to look at his arm, clearly alarmed by the syringe poking out of him. At this point, I was getting ready to switch my grip on the syringe from the dart grip to the cigarette grip, but his reaction to getting stuck caused him to pull away from me just as my grip was changing. He leaned to his left and the syringe stayed in his arm as he moved away. Why is the needle still in his arm? From there, he pulled the syringe and still attached needle from his arm with his left hand, raised it, and went after me with it as a weapon. The officers reacted by this point and started to go for the guy to stop him. I heard one of them shout needle, which I assume was the police way of calling out the weapon present in the room. As their subdued his momentum continued towards me. Still shocked, I tried my best to get out of the way, but still felt an impact as something hit my left thigh. The syringe and needle fell to the floor, and I saw that the needle was bent. By now, almost everyone in the room was on the patient, who was now screaming at the top of his lungs as staff worked to restrain him to the bed. I reached for the needle and syringe simply to get it out of the way for everyone else and to make sure that everyone had everything they needed during the restraint.
Bro.
At this point, I began to realize exactly what had happened and that I had been attacked.
Bro.
Oh God, please don't tell me that needle hit me. I was terrified thinking of what diseases and nasty shit this guy potentially had that I was exposed to.
Bro,
While contemplating my future life with HIV and hepatitis, I stepped into the bathroom to inspect the damage to my leg.
Bro.
I was so relieved when I found my leg was unscathed.
Bro.
The only explanation I can think of is that somehow the needle hit the pack of gum that was in my left pocket at the time.
Bro.
Wrigley, if you ever need a spokesperson, please have your people get in contact with my people.
Sorry if you turn
After the situation had resolved, one of the police officers approached me and asked if I wanted to press charges against the guy. I initially said no because I felt sorry for the guy. He had psychiatric problems, he can't control what he's doing. As that shift progressed, however, my feelings began to change. Why should I protect this guy because he was methed out of his mind and attacked me? Why should I let this guy get away with giving me anxiety and making me feel uneasy for the rest of my career with psych patients?
Bro.
I later called the officer back and pressed charges against the
creepiness.
patient. As of about 2 years ago, nothing has come of the charges because the patient wasn't in his right mind.
It's not okay.
Again, please, for everyone's sake, don't do meth.
Bro.
This next story is from the same person, so consider it a continuation. After a couple of years of career development, I found myself in a leadership role in the ER. I had been given the title of night shift charge nurse over my department, and my confidence was high. I finally had the opportunity to show everyone my leadership skills and how well I could run the department. I truly thought I could make a difference.
Even save one paranoid
On this night, one of our ambulances got called for a car versus semi collision. The patient was the driver of the car, was in his 30s or 40s. The medics in the ambulance mentioned that the collision may have been a suicide attempt.
Why you look like
there
that?
was no obvious injuries that I noted when he first arrived, and he
Why you look like that?
calm. When I saw that the situation was under control, I stepped back and looked over the rest of the department. I didn't hear anything about him for the rest of the time that he was there. I don't remember why, but he was going to be admitted to the hospital. So the nurse called report to the floor, and we arranged for transport to his room upstairs. Because he could have possibly attempted suicide, he was placed in a 1-to-1 watch while he was in the ER. So the tech that was doing the watch was going to take him upstairs. Additionally, because he was a 1-to-1 watch, they needed to be escorted by a security guard. According to the tech, he had been asleep for quite some time prior to his transport. The security guard arrived and the tech woke the patient up for the transport. Once he woke up, all hell broke loose. He immediately got up from the bed and began talking nonsense, eventually escalating to yelling nonsense. With my workstation being right outside the room, I got up and went straight into the room.
Oh my God.
When I entered through the curtain, I saw the tech and the security guard standing opposite of the guy trying to talk him down. At this point, the guy was standing in the middle of the room, bare-ass naked, and had ripped out his IV. His posturing was threatening, and things looked like it would get violent unless the situation diffused. The security guard immediately called for backup and calmly tried to approach the patient. It was at this point that the guy attacked the guard by punching him in the face. The patient continued to go after the guard, but the guard managed to get him pinned against some cabinets in the room. I stepped up to try to hold the patient's arms back. I yelled for the secretary at the nurse's station to call the police. Not long afterward, the other security guard arrived and tried to help. To paint a better picture, the patient is standing with his back against a counter in some cabinets, still yelling nonsensically in his psychotic tangent.
What is your
Security guard 1 is bear hugging him around his chest and abdomen, much like a football tackle. I'm standing by the patient's side between him and the door, doing my best to hold his arms back from hitting anybody else. Enter the second guard who approached the patient from the front and was trying to see what he could do to help.
In this horror
He unfortunately got too close.
I'm not even playing, bro. Why does he have no? Why does he have no teeth? Why does this man look like a cartoon character? I don't even know what his name is, but they ugly. Okay.
And the patient saw an opportunity.
That daddy son.
He cocked his head back in a split second and headbutted the second guard in the face with full force. The patient's head struck the guard right above his brow, which immediately split open and began dripping blood. That loud, dull thud of bare skull on skull contact is a sickening sound that I will never forget.
I don't want no ghosts,
Immediately following that, we got the patient's feet out from under him and brought him down to the floor. The security guard with his head
Bro.
gashed open was still trying to help us and was dripping blood
Bro.
all over the floor and the patient.
Bro.
By this time, other people had heard the commotion and
He's
came to help.
looking.
The secretary had called 911 and we were just waiting on the
looking
police
like
to get there.
Don't know where he's
All
at
we had
right
to do
now.
was keep this guy held down. Granted, this was about an average-sized guy, but he was still quite the fighter.
He's not
We
looking.
simply were
Bro,
unable
where-
to hold him down
you
on the
know
ground
you
by
at,
his
dude?
limbs, so I ended up kneeling with my entire weight onto his back to keep him down. Again, my entire 250-pound frame was kneeling with my entire weight on this guy's back and was barely phasing him. He kept shouting for his little buddy to come save him
He's not shouting.
so that they could
like,
run
it's
away to
quiet,
Alaska
you know?
or something like that. When I think back on the situation, it was honestly kind of sad.
Bro,
This guy was clearly having a psychotic episode and didn't intentionally try to harm us.
what is this
But
gonna
in that
end?
moment, all I felt was
What is this
rage.
gonna end?
White, hot, boiling
Bro,
rage for what he
this is
did to my
gonna end.
coworkers and friends. If I knew there wouldn't be any repercussions for my actions, I can't say that I wouldn't have beaten the absolute piss out of the guy in the moment.
Bro.
After the police arrived, we were able to get the patient restrained
I
to the bed and sedated him
scared.
without any issue.
Like my
Once
heart
the
is
situation was more under control, we
beating out my
registered both of
chest.
the security guards for treatment.
like I feel like
The
someone's
first guard
behind
had
me.
no
right
injuries, and the other guard had
No,
his
it
wound
isn't.
stitched up.
now. My mom
Other
already
than the
scared
wound
me
on
with
his
this
head and being
sneeze.
slightly dazed, he was fine. No one else was injured during the event.
Bro,
Shortly after I walked out of the room, the gravity of what had just happened hit me really hard. I quickly made my way to an empty room and closed the door before I absolutely lost it. I sobbed as silently as I could as I contemplated what had just happened. This guy had just gone full-blown apeshit on us and there was absolutely nothing I could do. I was the leader of these people, and they were put into a dangerous situation in what is supposed to be one of the safest places in the community. One of my responsibilities was to keep things under control, and I had just messed that up in a major way. Maybe I wasn't as capable of doing this job as I thought.
bro.
I took
Watch
a few
your
minutes
dark,
to
so
let
I'm
my
scared of
emotions
that.
run their course and collected myself before heading back out to finish the shift. Not long
Bro,
after
what-
that incident, I stepped down from being a charge nurse, both for reasons related and unrelated to these events. I've since gone back to being a regular staff nurse in the ER, and I
Bro.
honestly prefer that. I haven't gone back to the charge nurse
Do
role
not
yet,
worry,
and
people.
most
It's
likely never
3 more
will.
minutes of this video.
I still get anxious
Yeah,
before every shift I work, always worrying
Bro,
about what
you
dangerous situation
need
my
a new
coworkers
job,
and I
bro.
may face in the ensuing
He need a new job. This is not his job, bro. This is
12-hour
not his job.
shift. I'm a night
this
shift
is the
nurse
last
who has been
one.
working at a veterans hospital for the past 3 years. My unit is located at the basement of the hospital. I chose to do 12-hour night shifts because it was
Bro.
quiet and relaxing for the most part before the rush begins in the morning after
You
we
know what he
leave.
look like?
Last
Comment down
night, I was
below.
sitting at the nurse's station at 12:30 a.m. catching up on The Walking
Definitely know what
Dead,
that man look
and
like.
I had the
bro.
urge to use the restroom. I go into the restroom, do my business, and everything seemed completely normal. This restroom is a unisex restroom, so the entire staff uses it. As I process to head to the sink to wash my hands and kind of stare
You know
at my
that one
face in
dude,
the mirror to see if I
WWE?
look tired enough
You
yet,
look like him.
I hear a slow sliding sound coming from one of the ceiling tiles above. It moves
just got
open,
older.
exposing the roofing, and just sits there.
Okay, buddy.
Now,
Okay,
I'm not the
buddy. That's about
bravest
to be a
person
jump
in the
scare,
world,
bro.
but since my
about to
curiosity
be a jump
hasn't
scare,
killed
bro.
me yet,
You're about
I
to be a
decided to
jump
hide behind the wall that divided the main sink
It's about
from
to
the
be a
stalls
jump
and just
scare.
wait
This is
quietly
about to be
to
a
see
jump
what was
scare.
going
Just
on
do
in
it.
there.
Yeah, do
In
it.
the midst of the silence, a man's legs began creeping out from the roof opening. This is when I knew I had to officially
I'm
run.
about to run out.
I was
I'm about
practically
to-
shitting bricks at this point. He drops into the restroom as I'm flinging the door open and screaming bloody murder into the hallway of sleeping patients. He grabs the back of my scrubs and we both fall to the floor. My coworkers, who most definitely got startled as hell, ran to my rescue. They separated us, thank God. However, I had a faint scratch on my right cheek. He had a pair of wound care scissors in his hand. Security was called as my male coworkers detained him. I was in a state of hysteria and was ready to go home in the middle of the shift.
He just got his
Turned
beard.
out the young man was
Why
a
he look
newly
different?
admitted psych patient who was trying to
Bro.
escape from the upper hospital floors. Apparently, his family forcefully
Why
brought
he
him
look
to the
like that?
emergency room, and they were waiting for him to get cleared to go to psych. No one is completely sure how he could get away and end up in the restroom ceiling. The freaking restroom ceiling. Currently, my nursing supervisor and I have decided to switch me to work morning shifts now, but on a different unit. Unfortunately, after this event, now I really know what authentic fear feels like.
Okay, that'll be the end of this video. I got creeped out multiple times. Okay, almost ran to my room, ran out this house, and all that stuff. Almost did that, but hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Um, make sure you leave a like and one prayer from my heart, please. So yeah. And I'll also put this horror story in the description below. Yeah. Okay. Yes, so make sure you like and subscribe. I'm about to cry. Okay, I'm just about to end the video right here.